All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again for the Monday morning team call. I am so excited about this call because this is something that I get this question all the time. I have team members having team members say this. My husband was this way. So I know that a lot of you guys can relate. And we really want this to be of value to you guys and to be able to just be able to have this as a tool for you guys to use, because a lot of these stories are going to resonate and relate with a lot of you. So today we have on 4 men who are awesome. I have a spot in my heart for all of them. A lot of them I've met through their wives at events and just become fast friends, and now go on vacation sometimes with them because they're just a part of our lives, and we love them so much. And we've bonded with their kids, and our kids have made friendships through them, through this amazing company. And so today we have on our first guest, which is Aaron Beyer. I always get your name wrong. Beyer. I don't even know why. We've known each other for years. See, Dan doesn't even know. But yeah, so we have him on, and I'm so excited because he's going to share really his story and how he got introduced to this and what his skepticism was, whether it was with the products, whether it was with network marketing. A lot of people have the network marketing hold up, and that's why they don't even want to get into the products. So Aaron, you're here. Will you please join us and share your story?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Am I unmuted now? I'm good.
You're
Okay,
good.
thanks everybody. So hi, yeah, my name's Aaron Beyer. I'm in Minnesota. I have a beautiful wife, Jen, and 2 awesome kids. We're actually in Florida right now. We just did homeschool week at Disney World with our class, and it was intense. Our teacher was like every day structured from like 6 a.m. to like bedtime. So we had to like have 2 days just to unwind. So we've just been, everyone else went home Sunday and we're sitting by the pool. So anyhow, my esoteric story. So I actually got started 7 years ago, and like what Meredith just talked about, how like just because it was network marketing, that was my exact hang up. So I remember when my wife was asking, hey, I really want to do this. So Matt and his wife, he's actually going to be sharing last today. They were our enrolling sponsors. So Amanda had been using the products for a couple months and had some similar symptoms my wife was experiencing. She was having a lot of like gut health problems, and everyone was like, you're fine. Nothing's wrong with you. And she was going to nutritionists and chiropractors and doctors, and like no one could really tell her what was going on. And so she was really just desperate for something. So she's like, hey, I really want to do this. And I was like, nope, sounds stupid. I've never heard of cleansing. It's a network marketing company. I don't want to be on an auto ship every single month, and it's so hard to get out of all this, right? So I wouldn't even look at it. I remember I would do research and try to find negative stuff about isogenics. I don't know if you've ever done that. It's like you have to like look really hard. So that's what I'd be doing. And then every time I found something, I'm like, see here, look at what this article says. It's terrible. But the majority of the stuff was all great. So but yeah, that was my biggest hang up in the beginning. And then my wife had an amazing product experience. She wasn't interested in the business. And when she made that choice, and it just happened because people were like naturally like, what are you doing? Like, what's different? And I want it. And my wife kind of made the decision like, wow, like I'm not even trying to do this, and I'm like getting my products paid for. So what would happen if I put effort into it? So she looked at the comp plan. She always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So she always says, God brought isogenics into our lives to fix her health and to bring her home with our kids. And that's what, as soon as she looked at the comp plan, that was her belief. She's like, I know this is what God wants me to do, and this is what I'm doing. And I would say one thing that really helped me, again, I was a huge skeptic. So even after her product experience, but when she said she wanted to do the business, she had a conversation with me. It wasn't like, she didn't like force me to do it. She just said, hey, I really want to do this. I would love your support. And in the beginning, all I did was like put the kids to bed, and she will say I didn't do laundry, but I did. I was doing laundry and just trying to like help out with stuff around the house. She will say, no, I did. I was doing that. And that's kind of how I started. That was like the beginning of my involvement. I'll be honest, when my wife had the conversation, she was like, I just want like a year to 2 years. Let me go all out and see how it goes. And I was like, okay. And in my head, I was like, this will last 3 months and she'll quit. That was kind of what I was, that's it. I was like, okay, I'll just do this till she's burned out and she doesn't want to do it anymore. And then that didn't happen. She like crushed it from the beginning. And my involvement just happened naturally. So just know, two, if your spouse is skeptical, one, if you haven't had that conversation, just talk to them, because like I could tell how important it was for my wife, and she stressed her why from the beginning. Her why was, I want to be home with my kids, and I believe I can do this and this. So even though I wasn't totally on board and I thought it was stupid, I was willing to support her just on that aspect. I could tell she really wanted to do it. And then yeah, I just got naturally involved. So when my wife started the business, I'm a smart husband. She said, that was kind of my product story. She's like, you need to try it for a month. And I was like, she was nice about it, but I knew like there's no way I could say no. I'm going to look like the biggest jerk. So I was like, okay. And I went in again. I'm going to prove it doesn't do anything. And I had an amazing first month and busted through a weight loss plateau I'd been stuck at forever, like working out, cutting calories, like all that. I just got through it, no problem. That was my first and of course I told my wife, like, it's okay, like better than I thought, totally. I can see Meredith like cracking up, totally just like downplaying it. And then what really opened my eyes was product wise was my wife and I are both in the National Guard, so I had my fitness test 2 months after I started. So this was like before Ampline. It was just, I did like a 30-day and I was using like the shakes, and we didn't have e-shots. That's what we always tell people at the beginning. This is like before e-shots. I like crushed my fitness test, like by far the highest score I ever had. I was always about a low out of 100, a low 90%, and I got like mid 90s, which was unheard of for me. And that was the first like, wow, this is really the only thing I've changed. I worked out all the time. I thought I ate good. That was the biggest change. So product wise, that was the big eye opener for me. And then business, I just gradually got more and more involved. And a lot of it just came from curiosity of my wife having success. So I'm like, how are you making money? Like what? She's like, I don't know. I just have fun doing this, and I'm talking to people and they're jumping on and I'm helping other people. And I don't know, my paycheck just keeps getting bigger and I just keep doing the same stuff. And it's like, okay, like I want to understand it. So that's really where I became passionate, was just the comp plan. I love digging into it and just learning how everything worked and making sure people on our team understood things too, and understand, because it's, as you go up ranks, it can get kind of complicated. Yeah, and then it was naturally over time. Now it's, I'm a 50-50 partner. I love network marketing. I think everyone should be doing it. Every time I'm talking to somebody, opportunity wise, I'm just like, I love Isogenics. I think you'll love it too. If Isogenics is not for you, find something that you can get passionate about and share, because like this industry is awesome. Believe it or not, there are other great companies out there. Maybe not as great as Isogenics, but there's still other good companies out there. But yeah, that's kind of my pitch, is like, if you're into cleaning products, if that fires you up, awesome. I like to help people. I love watching Dan's facial expression. Great, but just find something you can be passionate about, and I'm hoping it's Isogenics. So
awesome. I love that. I really love that.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, so I have a question for you, because what was it with network marketing? I know you did your own research and you dove really deep in there, because Jen's just making money. Same with Derek. He's like, well, how do you have this money? I'm like, I just do. I don't know. I'm just passionate. But for you, was it really, what tool was it? Was it going to an event? Was it watching a specific training? What was it for you that really oh my goodness?
Events played a big role. And I mean, it wasn't like an instantaneous, oh, I'm a 10 now. It was like, okay, this is kind of crazy. That's what I thought at first. I'm like, well, it's raw. Like my first event was Celebration. I'm like, what is happening? Like everyone's excited and doing high fives. So that part was a little overwhelming for me, but I think the events are great. But for me in the beginning, it was meeting people like Meredith, and then getting to know Dan and Julie better, and meeting like Derek, and like connecting with like real people at events. Like I have no financial ties to Meredith, but like in the beginning, it was like, I think it was my wife and one team member there. And even early when it was like Dan, Julie jumped on, we maybe had like 20 people total on our whole team from the event, like combined. So it was networking with those other people and just the friendships and like seeing like, wow, that's like not a bunch of weirdos. It's normal people and they're cool and they believe in this. And then another big thing was honestly Eric Worre, like GoPro, just reading that. I'll use that for a prospecting tool, just the first couple of chapters when he kind of compares, it's not perfect, but just how he lays out network marketing compared to other industries. That was a game changer for me and really changed my thinking about network marketing. And just as I got to know it better, what I really loved about it was it's performance based. That's what I loved. Like, it's not, no one else is depending on your worth. It's performance based. It can take a little bit for that to really show up where people might find it like in the beginning, maybe the time you're putting in, you're not making that money. You guys, if you've been in this for a while, you understand that. But just the consistency and the hard work and the grind, like if you're willing to learn and get better, and it works. So that's what, yeah.
That's good. Your story's so similar to Derek's. It's funny, but I have a really to leave the other men maybe watching this or wives watching this, like when my husband is so skeptical, like he won't even let me, like he won't allow me to do this. What is one piece of advice that you would give that husband? Just
I'm going to do this, but I'm also going to give advice to wives too, or if it's and I know sometimes it's flipped where it's guys and the girls. Normally it's the wife. So just if I'm speaking towards that, don't be offended. I'm just going off the norm. But one, for like any skeptical spouse, just be open and just take a look and talk to other people and hear the good and the bad. Like again, it's not a perfect industry and it's not for everybody, but I've really changed my whole mindset to just being open to opportunities. And I think if you can just be open and hear about it and talk to other people, great. If I'm going to flip it, if your spouse is not open, I would say don't force it. I hear that nothing against women. Like sometimes women get like rah, like, oh my gosh, he loves you. He's got to support you. Like, if a guy feels forced, like if I would have felt forced in the beginning, I would have been like, no way, no how, nothing. Like my wife had that conversation with me and she laid it out. She's like, hey, I really want to go after this. It's going to be some extra responsibility for you. And I mean, once we like talked about it and she kind of gave me the choice of accepting her doing it, like it was a lot easier for me, even though maybe I didn't believe she was going to have success and I didn't think it was going to work out. And the other thing too is like, another thing I hear is spouses complaining that their husbands aren't involved in the isogenics business. And my viewpoint is, as long as he's supportive, and supportive might be just like he's picking up extra stuff around the house, like he's involved. If his role is to just help out more with the kids, or if he's doing a little more work around the house so you can go to events and you can prospect and do calls at night, like that's his involvement, and just be happy for that and thank him for that. It took me a while before I was doing three-way calls and I was prospecting. Like I remember when Meredith was talking about this, I had a friend reach out to us like a couple months in. I still had a great product experience, but he was like, hey, like I look back on it and I'm like, what was I thinking? But he was like, hey, I've seen Jen's post. I really want to do isogenics. There's another guy. And I was like, no way, man. It's super expensive and super intense. Like I look back on it. I mean, he was like, I want to sign up. And I'm like, nope. And it was just me because like I was like felt weird about network marketing. It was just a weird mindset thing in the beginning. Like I look back on it and I'm like, what was I thinking? Like so stupid. So like not even like, hey, take a look. Like it was just like I like slammed the door. I still feel really bad about that. It was like 7 years ago. So just I would say both ways. Meet your spouse where they're at. And just have that conversation about what life's going to look like with this involvement, and consistency is the key. So and events, so just have that conversation. What's it going to look like for each spouse? And I'm confident that people they'll come to an agreement. If they love each other, then they'll be able to work it out.
Yeah, that's really good. That is really good. So well, tell us really quickly like when you hit six-figure mark and when you hit millionaire mark. Like, tell us, because you're humble.
Oh,
So
I love this. I love this. I'm not always super humble, but whatever. Yeah. So so my wife started in March. So I always like to lay it out by calendar year. So in the beginning, it was, and Meredith knows this. Meredith started at the same time. It was like crazy because like when we started, like Kelly and Tyler were like a year in, and like nobody had network marketing experience. It was like everybody was trying to figure it out. So just keep that in mind. Like we have experienced people now. So the first 9 months, my wife was working like 15, 20 hours a week on her isogenics business on top of being a mom and on top of working full time. So she was like never had an unproductive minute. Like she was super good about like if she was getting ready in the morning, she was listening to podcasts, she was listening to motivational stuff. She was like, if we were in the car, we're listening to personal development. Like every minute was productive. And like I would sit and watch TV and she'd like get mad at me, like if it was an hour at night. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I just need like an hour to wind down before bed. Like I'll fold one basket of laundry and I know it's slower than you, but like I'm sorry, I just need to like that, my nothing box. I just need to like tap into that for a little bit because I'm a dude. So that was that. So the first 9 months we made like 12 grand. It was pretty good, but when you're working 15, 20 hours a week, it's not the best, right? Especially when you're working full time and you're doing this to like be with your kids more, but really in the beginning it wasn't so. And it was a teetering point for us. So going back to the events, we went to NYKO 2013 and like we needed that event. Like I think we would have left. We would have left if we didn't go to the event. And I always compare network marketing, like when I'm talking to new people, it's like an airplane. In the beginning, you're just trying to like get lift, right? If lift's like your income level, like you're working so hard and you have to get lift. And so many people quit like right before the plane starts to go. They get burned out. It's like, well, it's really hard to get my plane to fly. I'm just gonna go back to driving my car. Just keep going. So we went to that NYKO and my wife got like, that was, if you've seen the Lynn Hagedorn, associate to executive talk back in the day, it was like what lit my wife up. So that was January. We were making, I think that December we cycled 17 times a month. In May, I can't remember. I share this a lot with people. I don't remember the quite income, but whatever. It was like $1,000 we made that month. Cycled 17 times with some bonus and stuff. By May, my wife left her job. So it was just like 5 months from that point where it was like we were so close to quitting. 5 months later, my wife left her job. By the end of that year, we were making like the equivalent of a six-figure income. And like our business essentially, from the time my wife put in a 30-day notice, I remember this. We put in the notice, and it was kind of a scary point for us because like we didn't have the consistency. We're just kind of like leap of faith, like we're going for it, right? So my wife was like super unhappy in her job. She wanted to be home with the kids. We could eliminate daycare. And I remember Tyler and Kelly, we did a call with them, and Tyler was like, hey, God's gonna like bless you for like not telling people to go leave your job. This was just us and timing. Yep. But it was nervous, and he was like, hey, God's gonna bless you for taking this leap of faith. So in that month, like my wife put in her notice, like our business doubled that month. We went from like 10 cycles a week to 20 cycles a week. It wasn't even like my wife was full time yet. It just momentum stuff was catching on. And then by I think January, February, so about 6 months after my wife left her job is when we were making the equivalent of a six-figure income. And just going back to the calendar, so year one, 12 grand that 9 months. The whole calendar year of 2013, we made 60 grand, but 5 times as much. And then 2014, we made like 180. Like it was like, and then we hit millionaire it was about the 5-year mark, like almost exactly. So
that's incredible. Oh my gosh, like insane. And you guys,
it was awesome. So I know I got kind of jumped all around there, but
no, it's so cool. It's good to see a timeline. And because Jen and I started like in March 2012. And that's when I met them. And actually, Aaron has been involved. Aaron and Matt Svensson have been involved in helping us rank advance. We're like messaging them last minute, help, like questions. So super thankful for you guys. Thank you so much, Aaron, for like just sharing and just helping us like get through some of those questions that, you know, wives have and men have. And so we just really thank you. And you guys, he spent 8 days at Walt Disney World because of time freedom. So I want you to know that he's there right now in Florida. They do not live in Florida. You can tell by his accent. But anyway, so thank you so much, Aaron. I really appreciate it. So our next, oh, go ahead. Do you have anything to say?
No, I was just going to say, if your spouse ever wants to talk to somebody, again, I'm good and bad. I'll lay it all out. I'm super transparent. Some people like that. Some people are like, Aaron, what are you saying? You're not helping here. But if you ever need help on a call, connect with me, shoot me a message, and I'm happy to help. So, but I'm going to go back and join my family at the pool. So
awesome.
You guys have an awesome day. Yeah, thanks for asking me to be on the call, Meredith.
Tell Jen hi. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Okay, we'll see you later. Yep, bye.
So our next guest is a very special friend of mine because I'm best friends with his wife. And I did approach them. Well, he'll share in his story, but I approached them for years. They watched me use the products for years. And we have Brady Duke on. So Brady, can you just share a little bit of your story and how your thoughts of Isagenix in the beginning and how we had many conversations?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Meredith. This is the first time I've ever really done anything like this. So my name is Brady and my wife is Julie, and we met Meredith probably 5 years ago or so, and they introduced us to Isagenix then, and we had some experience with network marketing, not good experience, and so we were definitely very close-minded when we first met. So we were not interested in really hearing about the products or anything like that, and so Meredith did an amazing job of just being patient and just using the products herself and offering where she could. And we were just like, nope, it's not our thing. And Meredith did kind of, in a loving way, because we were building friendship and getting to know each other through our life group and through church relationship and stuff like that. And so we were spending time together as families. And so she just was bold and kind of like approached, I think, so Julie, my wife, was getting interested, but she was very respectful of the way I was feeling. Kind of closed off and just like, I didn't want to be a part of it. I didn't want to be one of those people that was using the people around them for money or, anything like that. So there was one specific conversation I remember having in our backyard a few years ago where Meredith is just kind of like, so what's your, what exactly, do you have a problem with this or that? And I was like, well, and I don't even remember what I said, but I didn't want to talk about it. And so I guess over time, just seeing Meredith, somebody just popped up on my screen. I don't know what's happening. So after just seeing Meredith just consistently just building her own business and doing her own thing, and not forcing us to do anything, was actually a huge part of us just kind of seeing the fruit and understanding like, okay, we could maybe be interested in this. There isn't like a high pressure sales thing going on here. We're not being used for money. Like, she just wants to be friends and share something that she really does believe in with us. And we started to really see that after a while. So for my skepticisms in the beginning, it was, okay, the only way to make money in this kind of thing is just to kind of sell somebody something real quick and then move on. Like, make a quick dollar on somebody, they'll buy a box or a product or something real quick and move on. And then you just kind of keep finding these people like a cheesy salesman, And so I didn't want to be that. And so there was a lot of stuff now looking back that I was saying no to something I didn't know anything really about. Truthfully, I didn't actually look at it. And so, I would make a lot of assumptions about network marketing. I made a lot of assumptions about the products or just like what you have to become to be successful in the business. And those were things that I wasn't even aware of at the time. And so over time, so Julie and I started using the products, Julie more so than me. She started to see benefit. She kind of just barely started using some shakes and the greens, and, kind of got started off slowly. And then she was like, okay, I really think I should just jump in and try this. Just try the products. We weren't doing business, but just try the products. And so she started having an amazing encounter with the products, her energy. We have 4 kids. And so she was feeling amazing. She was getting into workouts like she really wanted to. And I was just seeing like, wow, she's really enjoying this. This is good for her. I started using the products. I was in the military, so I've used protein and I've used this and that. And I'm like, yeah, this is just another option. It's not really that different, whatever. I'm glad it's good for her. And that was kind of my mindset, was like, there's a lot of girls in this thing, so it's just good for her. And this is like, a weight loss plan. And again, that's me not knowing what I'm saying no to. So, and then once I was around more, Julie started doing some sip and samples, and I started to hear things about the compensation plan, and really started to look at and hear about the products. And because I really value healthy food and knowing what's in my food, and there's a lot of people around me that do the same thing, and I'm naturally pretty critical. So I kind of look at things and really analyze things, and I was realizing there was a lot of assumptions I was making that I didn't really have a reason for. So let's see here. So it was probably a year ago that Julie was like, I really want to do this as a business. And I was like, okay, great, go for it. But I wasn't really sold out myself, and believing that it was possible. And so therefore she wasn't really feeling that supported, because she knew a part of me was very reserved and very, just wasn't really believing in it as an option. I was like, okay, good, go for it. Like, you have my blessing, go for it. And she was very respectful the whole time through. When I wasn't really into it, she was, sharing with friends very, slowly and relationally, which we still do very relationally. But it wasn't looked at as like, becoming a source of income for us. And so it wasn't until probably a little bit before Celebration this year that I was really starting to see and believe, okay, this I think could really be a legitimate option. I've looked at the products, I've looked at, all the good things about that. And I really started to see and comprehend the potential of the compensation plan. I was blown away. And we went to Celebration, and that was, I would say, my very first Isogenics event, because other than that, if there was a sip and sample, I was in the backyard watching everybody's kids, like every single time. That's what I was doing. And I'm like, I'm sure this is great. Like, I keep hearing good things, but I still haven't seen anything officially. Like, I've watched a video here and there, but I just hadn't even been a part of anything. But then we went to Celebration, and I choose a lot of times to see through the hype. Like, I can see through hype, and I've seen in other network marketing companies where they're just serving a whole bunch of empty hype, where it's like, hey, just be pumped and be happy, and whatever we're selling, just sell it and just be excited, right? And I just saw through that so many times. I was like, I can't do this. And that was a huge part of why I was apprehensive. But when I went to Celebration, there's hype, and that's, it's going to be fun and exciting, and that's cool. Which, you got to have a good fun time and all that to pump people up and get motivated. But then I was also seeing really that there is a lot of really solid integrity and good content, and obviously the products paired with the business plan. It's like, I was really seeing it for what it was. And I was seeing, the Cougars and their, like, who they were as people, like, in the integrity that they're choosing to lead out in with the company. Like, I was just pretty blown away. And it was probably this year that I was really sold out at Celebration. I started to really, get on fire for the whole thing. And I was just at a Super Saturday, and they talked about having insomnia over like the compensation plan. And I was like, I had a couple nights where I was like laying there, like eyes wide open, just my brain wouldn't turn off, like realizing the potential of, wow, I can actually influence my income by the amount of work I put in. And so I realized I just wasn't actually looking at what it was. And I was saying no to something I didn't really fully know about. And I think that's something as like we as men like pride ourselves on, like, oh, I'm going to go buy a truck, or I'm going to go buy this, or I'm getting into guns, or I'm getting into this. And we take all this time to research and know what we're talking about and know what we want and what what we don't want. But I hadn't done that with this until recently. And so, that was a lot of my skepticism, I would say. And I would say in a nutshell, that's probably our story. I don't know, Meredith, what do you?
Yeah, no, that's true. And coming from the military, Cameron's chiming in because Cameron is Navy as well. And so coming from the military, it's pretty eye-opening to think, wait, I don't have to just take this set income as a paycheck. I can actually exceed that. And so for you, right, with that mindset, and so you're surrounded by all these Navy men too, with like, they know everything about ingredients, because I was talking to a lot of them and using gold standard whey, and I've got a better pre-workout and those types of things. So you had that and you were using that when Julie was using this. So we had a few conversations, but with the business side too, just saying like, wait, I've been told I make this much and I can only ever make this much. What did that kind of do for you too?
I mean, in regards to, let me see, I just really started to realize, like, no matter how well I performed at my job, I was performing well and I was getting great reviews, and there was a lot of influence there, and like I was doing well. But it wasn't providing enough income, at least to what we wanted and had our goals set to. And it was like, no matter how well I did, they're not going to pay me anymore. And so, it was a kind of a fixed salary job. And even there was no such thing as overtime. There wasn't like anything like that. I had no real ability to change or influence my income. And that was something I was starting to realize of like, okay, this whole, like, I don't want to serve money as like, make it, an idol, but in a sense, by not using it as the tool I think God has made it to be for us, it's almost becoming like something that has power over me to like almost, limit my ability to do what God has called me to do in life. And so instead of choosing to take kind of hold of the opportunity, we could sit by and like, okay, this is all I've been given, and that's it. I'm just going to take it. And there's an aspect of, we need to be humble and thankful and all of that. And I think I'm doing that well, but it's also like, we do have a choice in like taking something that has been handed to us as an opportunity to say, no, money does actually work for me. Like, I don't work for money. Money works for me. And this is a way that is possible. And that was something that had to switch in my mind, was I don't work for money. Like, it works for me, because if I'm working for money, then it holds a stronger position than I do in life and in this world. And it has a higher position of influence than I do. When we all know, like, we're created to have an impact as individuals, not like just money, So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think that's a huge, like, that's a mindset too of a lot of people who grew up in the church. And that was ours as well. Like, am I serving money and all that stuff? But really it's a tool, and that it's going to work for me. I'm going to have this tool work for me, versus being a slave to it for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Which is something that we're tricked into. So, and from my perspective looking in, so you guys with Brady, I love them where they were at, but I did ask critical questions. So I just asked questions, and this is something that you can do with husbands like this. Say, well, his skepticism about network marketing, I asked him, I just said, you probably have a story. I'd love to hear your story, because typically people have a preconceived idea about network marketing, and he did. And he opened up to me about that. And so I was like, oh man, like, that sucks. I love you through that. And listened and cared for them. And I didn't push any further. So really knowing that, but then watching, like, I still was an example. I still was serving them and using the product around them. I wouldn't stop. His response is not going to stop me from continuing to share.
Right.
And even with Julie, like, there were little things that she'd come with me about, and I was like, just, he drank her greens and he felt something like immediately. I'm like, well, it was the greens that gave him the energy. So he had more confidence, and confidence too, when we showed him what he needed to see. So he needed to see stuff about why gold standard whey was different than our way. So we just gave him the tools that he needed. So Brady, what piece of advice before we move on to Dan is, what would you give that person who is basically you? What would you tell them to do? Would you tell them to go to an event? What would you tell them?
I mean, I've already said it a couple times. I would just reemphasize, know what you're saying no to. Because you're getting handed something that is a very, very good opportunity. Like, it's an amazing opportunity. And I said no to it for a long time, and I didn't even honestly know what it was that I was saying no to. I was assuming so much, and I didn't, realize it. And maybe there was a part of me that didn't want to admit that. And then I guess an important question is, are you really open-minded? Like, are you really? Because if you are, then you'll take a look at this and look at it objectively and really look at like where you're sitting at in life and wonder, okay, why am I here and not in this other place that I wanted to be, or this dream that I have? And we can say we're open-minded and then constantly be saying things that are proving otherwise. And so I wasn't open-minded in the beginning, and I wouldn't have said that. Those are a couple of the questions. And then the other thing is not letting, like you kind of alluded to with, you just kept doing your thing, even though I was kind of burned by network marketing and I wasn't interested. Not letting people's assumptions, just totally take you off track of what your dreams and goals are. There's people that, there's things in life that I don't care what they think, like I know they're true. And that's not going to change the way that I'm going to live my life. So the same thing is true in that matter with Isagenix. Is like, I know this is an amazing option. Like, this is an amazing opportunity that can provide so many things for my family. And just because someone else doesn't see that doesn't mean I'm going to stop believing that. And so, yeah.
That's good. Yeah. That's so good. Thank you so much, Brady, for sharing. You're so brand new to this, so that makes it even more fun. So our next guest is Dan. This is Julie Coughlin's husband, and I just love seeing him at events because he's always happy. He's always like dancing, and his testimony is amazing too, you guys. His before and after is incredible. So Dan, please share your story with us.
I'll make mine quick because I know we're kind of getting close on crunch time here. So so my name is Dan, and I lost 80 pounds using the products. And when we first got started, I was against network marketing. Like, I just wanted nothing to do with it. We did the products for a whole year before we even started sharing it. That's how skeptical I was about the business side of it. I had lots of other friends growing up or working in the DJ business. People come up to you and approach you because they know you're an entrepreneur. They want to, have you help them with their business. So I would get lots of different people from different network marketing companies that would come up to me and say, hey, can we have a meeting next week, and meet up? And there'd be some pressure sales meeting that I would go to at Starbucks. And next thing I know, I'm like talking to them, and trying to tell them no for the next month, which is one thing that I really liked about Isagenix, is that there was none of that. When we got started, it was because we saw results from one of our friends, from my wife's sister's friend, Aaron and Jen Byer. So, Julie heard from her what the products were doing for her, and she said, I want to try this. And I was open-minded. I've always been open-minded about business and about products. So I was like, sure, let's give it a shot. So we did, and we had results, and I was still against the business though. So that's just kind of where my journey was. I will say, just like Aaron said earlier about GoPro, the 7 steps to becoming a network marketing professional, that listening to that in the truck on the drive to and from work was kind of what woke me up from that. There, because it was talking about, well, a good network marketing company has good products. And I was like, oh, well, these products work. And then all of a sudden, while I was at work, I was getting questioned about, what are you doing? Because, I had my shaker cup and I was having my shake at lunch, and people were coming up to me going, are you feeling okay? You've lost a lot of weight pretty quick. What's going on with you? Are you sick? So people were asking me if I was like sick. And I was like, no, I feel great. and because of Isogenics, I was able to get back into my sport, which is inline speed skating or rollerblade racing. And I don't know if any of you have ever witnessed a rollerblade race or an inline race, but basically you skate 26 miles. You do a full marathon, and I would do a marathon, and then afterwards I would have these incredible headaches, and I would be down for like a week or at least a couple of days where I would just be in physical pain. And after doing Isogenics, all that changed. And I remember actually finishing a marathon and then going hiking with our kids that afternoon and thinking to myself, this isn't normal. Like this stuff is changing the way that I live my life, is changing the way that I perform. So that was kind of like what woke me up with the products, really, was like after doing that marathon and feeling so good. It's like, man, this is the stuff. And just seeing, having people ask me, what are you doing, made doing the business that much more easy. So that was kind of our journey. And, I just didn't want to be that salesy person that was going to coffee shops and pressure sales people, like, well, see that person across the room, that person's my next appointment, and you can either be in his downline or upline. I didn't want to be that person because I'd heard that talk before, and I did not want anything to do with it. So that's kind of where I was at. And knowing that Isogenics, everything speaks for itself. The products, they do what they say they do. You can see it when you come to events. The whole room will stand up when you say, have you had a physical transformation? And what's really incredible is when you go to a big event and you see all those people on stage that have changed their financial blueprint as well. That was kind of the eye opener for me. Julie went to an ICU and came back like she drank the Kool-Aid, all fired up, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? And she's like, we're gonna do this business, and la 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 la. And I'm like, I was just at home with the kids all weekend by myself. I need a break, and like I'm not ready for this, But then when I started listening, and we had events just like Brady was saying, like these events at the house, and I'd be out in the backyard with my bounce house set up and the music pumping and the kids bouncing, and occasionally I would sneak in and listen, or so it was just kind of like a different experience for me, to see families coming together, to see the community growing and in a positive way. And just like everything that was happening with the company and with us was changing positively. And that was when I was like, yeah, this is a good thing.
Oh my gosh, Dan, I didn't know like a lot of this stuff. It's amazing. Number one,
I don't talk very often.
Yeah, like we need to have you do more of these. Oh my gosh, amazing. Well, first of all, your physical transformation and like the 26-mile race, no thanks. So that's incredible. But I find it really fascinating that you were so turned off for so long, but still using the products and still getting great results. But it wasn't until you saw the community, tell me if I'm wrong, the community and like families changing, like what maybe it was your finances, like seeing what Julie was bringing in, because you guys are very successful. So what was it really that was like, okay, I want to look more into the business of this? What was that?
I can tell you, we went to a Super Saturday. Actually, it wasn't even a Super Saturday. It was like some kind of event that was at a Harley dealership in Madison, Wisconsin. And it was like a Thursday night or something like that. And they had this lady come in from Canada, Shannon Fisher, who was at the time was a newly announced Isogenics millionaire. And she stood in the front of the room along with another guy, Ryan Engelbert, who was like a fitness pro. And this dude's like jacked and he's got tattoos all over his arms and he's talking about business. And I'm like, okay, if these two people can do it, I can do it. And that was kind of what flipped my switch, was like, okay, we just need to talk to people. And I didn't really necessarily understand what cycles meant. And I didn't understand the residual income side of Isogenics. I just knew that, okay, if I share with this person and we get these packs sold, we get some money. I was like, that's not really all that much money though, when I look at it, from the initial enrollment standpoint. I was like, this isn't worth it. But then when I started looking at the cycles and how that worked, and how these people enroll those people, and those people enroll those people, and those people enroll those people, and all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, the potential is huge. That was what's flipped the switch for me, was when Ryan and Shannon talked about the compensation plan at that event.
Yeah, see, men come when the money's shown. Like, it's true. That's when Derek was like, wait, what? We went to a Super Saturday with Kelly and Danielle in Bakersfield, and Derek's taking notes and he's writing down all the names. And I'm like, okay, slow your roll. I thought I was excited. But that's good. And it's a Super Saturday. I think I want all of you guys to hear this, that everyone has said it's been an event, whether it was the people that they met at the event, whether it was the speakers knowing that if they can do it, I can do it. I sure saw that. And whether it was like seeing through the hype and really seeing the compensation plan. So that is huge, you guys. And Dan, you and Julie are very successful. They're multiple six-figure earners as well. Yeah. And I think you're on track to be millionaires. I truly do. I know it's coming. So I don't know if you feel the same way, but I just know it. Your team's exploding, and it isn't who you know, right, Dan? It's who you're going to meet and who's going to just come into your downline.
Exactly. The person that you're talking to today could know the next 1,000 people in your downline. That one person that you met at the coffee shop or whatever by happenstance, and it just snowballs from there. So just be open and listen to people and share it when it's appropriate, and don't push, but educate.
Thank you so much, Dan. I so appreciate your story and you sharing it. Just hopefully you guys, this is of value to you. We have one last guest. Thank you, Dan. We have one last guest. It's Matt Svensson, and he has, like I said, been really instrumental for us rank advancing, because he just knows the numbers, and he's awesome and is really successful. So Matt, are you there? He's also a dad of 4.
I am, yes. Thanks, Meredith.
Yay. So please share your story with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. First, I want to start out by saying thank you for having me on. It's an absolute honor to be here and to share a little bit of our experience with all of you, because this is where the magic happens. This is really how businesses are built, is sharing from each other's experiences. And, rewinding back 7 years, that's when Amanda and I first got started. We're almost at our 7-year mark, I should say. January will be 7 years for us. And at that time, Amanda was pregnant with Trevor, who's our third, and it was just not a good pregnancy. And she was looking for any solution that she could find to feel better and to kind of make her way through this pregnancy, because it was just nasty. And we were at our wit's end, and a neighbor across the street introduced us to the amazing products, and Amanda fell in love with them. And that was kind of the start of our journey. And the beauty of it is that we had no intent on building a business. Amanda didn't even know that this was network marketing for the first 12 months that we were involved with Isogenics. I mean, it was crazy. We just knew, we had found out that there was a compensation plan, or you could get your products paid for if you shared the products. And that was essentially how our business started. Now, rewinding even beyond that, or earlier, we had some interactions with network marketing companies, some family members who had, who we hadn't necessarily heard from a lot, and suddenly were calling to say, hey, can we come over and visit? And before you know it, they step in the door and they're putting a DVD in your DVD player. And, it just kind of jaded me a little bit. It honestly changed my perspective on how I perceived and how I viewed those family relationships. And it really impacted me. And so when Amanda first got started, to be frank with you, I was concerned. I was concerned about our integrity with our family, that people's perceptions of us would change, and that would then impact our relationships with our family and friends. And that's where I was at. Amanda came on and she loved the products. Everybody loves the products. I mean, if you put the products in your body, you're going to have an amazing transformation. That's just the end of the story. So she loved the products. She fell in love with them. The other challenge at that time, as I mentioned, Amanda was pregnant with our third. We wanted 4 kids. We were a single income family. And my background was financial services. I said, honey, I'm sorry. I love that you love these products. I love that they helped us get you through this pregnancy, but we don't have budget money available to continue buying them unless you get your products paid for. And that was all she needed to hear, to be honest with you. She kind of put her head down and just absolutely sprinted. And it was really fun to watch. She was amazing. But my mindset and my skepticism didn't necessarily change at that point. And I didn't have any skepticism, or I guess I'd like to take the word skepticism out and let's just call it disbelief, because skepticism, the root of skepticism ultimately is disbelief. Do you have belief in the products? Do you have belief in the company? Do you have belief in the industry? Do you have belief in yourself that you have what it takes? Or for a husband who's supporting a spouse, I mean, do you have belief that we can accomplish what we want to accomplish? And, my belief in the products was I'd say it was neutral. I hadn't had a product experience at that point. But I knew Amanda loved them. So I believed that the products were great. I knew that Amanda, if you can believe more than 100%, I believed 1,000% that Amanda would be successful at this if she put her mind to it, which I knew she would. I guess where my belief lacked was in the industry, in the business, and honestly in the business model. And in the business model, by that I mean how business is done. What are the interactions like to be successful, and does it compromise your integrity? Because as I mentioned, that was kind of my main hang up. The integrity of those other family members that had impacted us was still kind of burning and sour inside of me. And I was really concerned that was going to happen to us. So Amanda said, okay, I'll get my products paid for. That's great. But guess what? I need you to have a product experience because I'm pregnant. I can't use a full system. So you need to have a story that I can share. So I did. And I had a fantastic initial 30 days. As I mentioned, if you put the products in your body and you follow the system, you're going to have amazing results. And that's what happened. And I forgot my train of thought where I was going with that. But ultimately, I mean, she put her head down and she ran, and my perception still didn't change of the industry because I didn't know anything about it. It's not that I had negative thoughts about the industry. I had negative experiences from the industry, but I didn't specifically know anything about the industry, and I wasn't open. I didn't have any inclination to learn more about it. I took the stance that this was Amanda's thing, and looking back at it and reflecting on it, it's kind of selfish, but this is honestly the mentality that I had. I just didn't want to be the reason that this didn't work out for Amanda. So that, I mean, honestly, I'm being straight honest with you there. I just didn't want this to, if for whatever reason this didn't pan out, I didn't want her to be able to turn and look at me and say, Matt, if you would have helped me out in this way, or if you would have watched the kids or freed up my time some more, this could have worked out. So honestly, that was the mentality that I had for the first while that we were in the business. And meanwhile, I had the disbelief about the industry and about the company, again, not because of anything I knew, just because of what I didn't know. And that was anything. I didn't take any time to look into it because I wasn't open to it. Kind of like Brady mentioned, it's all about being open. So that was how we operated for a long time. And honestly, guys, I'm not going to lie. I mean, it was hard. Not hard in the sense of it was hard between me and Amanda relationally. It was hard in the sense of Amanda was sprinting and we were investing everything that we had into this. She was investing everything that she had into this. And I was investing everything that I had into the family and into doing what I needed to do so that she could be successful at what she wanted to do, because she was so passionate about it. And I knew that she would be so successful at it if she didn't have these obstacles that she had to jump over. So that was my stance and my perception out of the gate. I didn't ask questions about the business. She just asked me, what do you need help with? And I did that. And I didn't ask how this works. I didn't ask, do you want my input? I didn't make comments. This was her thing. And I honestly just I had my career, which was fantastic. I loved my career. And at that time when we first started, I had no intention of ever leaving my career. But, so I freed her up her time. I did whatever I had to do, and it just grew and grew and grew. And 13 months into our Isogenics journey, Amanda finally made it to a corporate event. And, it's sad to say that it took 13 months, but it wasn't impressed upon us that it was important to do that. So that's just not a step that we took. And she went to that event. She caught the vision. She actually saw what this opportunity could be. She learned that it was network marketing and what network marketing meant. And then she came home and she was on fire. She said, Matt, there's another event that's in August. It's called Celebration. It's the biggest event, and you're coming with me. And I mean, obviously at that point I had watched our journey. As Meredith mentioned, I had watched the money come in. We had a lot of success right out of the gates. So, I mean, she didn't have to bend my arm too hard to go and learn about it. Rewinding a little bit too, at the beginning of our journey, the one thing that I did say, I said, okay, honey, we'll pursue this. I'll free up whatever you need to do, you do. But these are the ground rules for how we're going to conduct business. This is how we're going to create the framework and the environment of how we interact with our family and our friends and the prospects that we come in contact with, because this aligns with our values. This aligns with the relational focus that we have, and we're not going to make it weird because that's not who we are. And we've experienced that. We've been on the receiving end of that, and I don't want to create that experience for anybody. And we kind of laid those ground rules out of the gate, and we've never deviated from them. And the beauty of this business is you can have a lot of success in a lot of different ways. Everybody's business looks different. As long as you identify who you are, you stay true to who you are, and you operate within those parameters, there's a lot of room for a lot of success for everybody. So I went to that celebration. Now fast forwarding again, we're 18 months into our Isogenics journey, and I went to celebration, and I don't know if I'd say I caught the vision. What was important to me was seeing the integrity of the company. And I saw Jim and Kathy on stage and seeing, how raw and real they were, and that they had good intentions. And then learning also about the industry and how, substantiated this industry is, how powerful this industry is. And, seeing the comp plan and learning more about the comp plan made us really realize that this is something that we could, put all of our eggs into and really run with. And so when we came home from that celebration, that's honestly what we did. And, Amanda's initial goal, her initial why, was to get our products paid for. She didn't want to ever have to pay for any of the products. We could use whatever products we wanted in whatever amounts, and we'd never have to pay for them. And, we accomplished that. And then her next goal turned into bringing me home from my corporate role. And as I mentioned, I had no intent on ever leaving when we first started. But, through mergers and acquisitions and role changes, things change and roles change. And, I'd say the most powerful thing with network marketing that it can provide is the freedom of choice. And, it really provided us the choice that at that point in time when I was ready, I had the opportunity to step away. I told Amanda, she was asking, what number do I need to hit in order to get you to come home? And there really wasn't a number that she needed to hit. It was more substantial growth or consistent growth, progressive growth over consecutive years to show me that, yes, this is a business model that is sustainable and that can continue on. And that really kind of sealed the deal for me. So as I mentioned, that whole journey started 7 years ago. I've been home now. January will be 4 years for me, home from corporate America, full-time family. We both work from home. We have 4 kids now. Our youngest just turned 5. Our oldest is 10, and we're loving every minute of it. But it created the opportunity for me to be a present father for 4 kids too, to really, establish and create the roots of that father-child relationship with them before they headed off to school for honestly the majority of their lives. And then once they graduate from school, most likely moving out of the house and kind of starting their own lives. So it's really been a really sweet time over these last 4 years to be home, and a great opportunity, and something that I'm obviously forever grateful for.
Oh my gosh, Matt. And yeah, you just got back from your child's school being there, yes?
We did. Yeah, we were volunteering. Today was the big Thanksgiving Day feast for our youngest son who's in pre-K. So it was fun.
Yeah, that is so cool. He has a choice to do that, whereas before you'd be at work and you would not have a choice and you'd be at work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yep.
But your gift, like you really have a gift with the numbers. So when did you start? Was it after that celebration that you're like, let me look at your back office? Like when did you start? I mean, we call you, we're like, hey, Matt, quick question, benchmark. Like we ask you all these questions. So when did you really dive into that?
Oh boy. It's hard to say. I think it's, oh shoot, sorry, my phone is, you there? My phone's on low battery, so I apologize if we get cut off. I'll try to make it brief. Having a financial background, numbers have always come natural to me. I've always been a numbers guy. Throughout, I've had various conversations. Once you start playing in the leadership pools, then suddenly we started having conversations with the regional sales team on how the leadership pools work and how does all that math work. And, you kind of gain all of these understandings as you kind of experience them. And that's the beauty of this compensation plan, is that you don't have to know everything in order to benefit from it. You can figure it out once you get to that stage. And once you start experiencing the benefits and the fruits of the compensation plan and what this opportunity can be, at that point you can be like, I just got paid this. Where did that come from, or how did that work? And then you can backtrack and kind of figure it out. And that's, a lot of the learning that I did was over time in those sorts of scenarios.
Yeah, that's so good. And I had another question for you specifically on that. Oh my gosh. And it's gone.
That's all right.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. Well, I want to just say this, you guys, most of the men have said, or all of the men have said, it's been events that have really built that like solid foundation for, okay, we're going to do this, and investing in that. Oh my gosh. What I was going to ask you was so good.
That's all right. Can I just step in here and make a comment?
Yes,
while
please.
you're thinking?
I'll think of it.
So the one thing that I would encourage all of you to do who perhaps have an unsupportive spouse or are dealing with an unsupportive partner, my heart goes out to you because I know how challenging that can be. This business is hard enough to do all by itself, without an unsupportive partner, an unsupportive spouse. So I know that it can really enhance the difficulties, especially that you experience as you're hearing no's, and then you come home and you're perhaps getting comments or whatnot, or unsupportiveness from your spouse. That is really, really challenging. And I guess as Brady mentioned so gracefully, really it all comes down to understanding and learning. Disbelief, non-belief is a troublesome piece. If you go to UIA, that's what David Wood's whole presentation is on. So it's really, if you have an unsupportive spouse, I'd ask you or encourage you to just have a conversation about them, about being open to that conversation to start. And secondly, identifying what's their area of disbelief. Do they have a problem with the products? Do they just not like having the additional expense coming out of the pocketbook? Find out what their pain point is, or what's the cause of their disbelief or their skepticism, and then ask them to be open to really understanding that piece of the company or the business or the industry. That's where my lack of knowledge was, and lack of belief. So going to that event was key because that filled the void for me. Rise of the Entrepreneur, especially for that area where in disbelief in the company and the industry, is an amazing tool to really provide the substantiated information that your spouse may need to get them over that hump. So just have that conversation with them. Ask them if they're open to looking further into that specific area of their disbelief, and that may turn them from the unsupportive side to the supportive side. Because this is really a passion of mine, is helping the unsupportive spouses coming along, linking arms with the husbands and helping them support their wives, and also, starting to build on their own if they're interested. But if they're not, that's a part of it as well. That's fine.
Really good. And I think too, connecting, my husband wouldn't have really necessarily met you guys if it weren't for events and because now there's relationship there and they can lean on you. Yeah, we're not financially tied, but you guys want to help each other out, which I love. My question for you was, what is your biggest month to date?
Oh boy. I do know. Yes. I am on the humble side. I don't like talking about this stuff.
I know.
Our biggest month was 85,000.
Okay, you guys. So I want you to hear that, because this was someone who was very not unsupportive, but just didn't understand. So do you understand that these 4 men now see the light? It took some time, it took a while, but to really be okay with them, love them, and help them get through that, because $85,000 in a month. That's amazing. That's incredible, life-changing. A girl asked, how do you get the husband to the event? I personally strong-armed him, but I also talked his language. So I'd love to hear from you how to get men to an event.
Yeah, I would say it's going to be different for each guy. It's going to depend on what their need is. Do they need information on the products? If it's a product experience, guys, it's honestly, it's easy. Just ask them to put the products in their body. Just challenge them. get a 30-day system. You can even open it under their own account if they don't already have an account, and then they'll have a 30-day money back guarantee. So it's like, just put the products in your body and experience it for yourself. That's the easiest one. I guess the business model in the industry is probably the most challenging one, because everybody typically has perceptions. They have some experience in the past with the industry, and they have an emotion that when they hear network marketing, an emotion that it brings up inside of them. So, I mean, disassociating the emotion from the concept of network marketing, I would ask them to put their emotions aside and just come into this, as Brady mentioned again, open-minded. Have an open mind, just willing to hear it out. And be open to the fact that this could be the opportunity that could absolutely change your life and your family's life, and honestly, your children's lives and the legacies to come, because we can pass this beautiful gift on to our kids after we're no longer here.
Wow, so good. And I would even say for those people who are like afraid of grouping, so network marketing as a group, that's like saying, I don't like Trader Joe's. Well, Trader Joe's is it's its own company, but you'd find another grocery store that is run differently, different like CEO. So there's different companies. So network marketing as a whole is kind of, well, let's look at different owners in different companies. So telling them it's the same type of thing where you're going to shop.
Absolutely. And Isagenix is the Cadillac of network marketing companies, guys. I mean, Man and I have no historical network marketing experience. And we praise the Lord each and every day that we wake up that we found Isagenix and stumbled into it, because it's completely by chance. But there's no other place that we would rather be.
So good. I know your phone is going to die, you guys. And thank you so much for hanging out. Matt, thank you so much for all of that.
Absolutely.
So good. I appreciate you. Everybody, have an amazing Thanksgiving. And remember that the iPads are still available. So if you enroll 8 people or help 4 people go consultant, you can win that new iPad Pro, I think it is. And then also right now is the time to be planting seeds. Thanksgiving's happening. A lot of us are having challenges. The Monday after Thanksgiving, people want to get rid of their bloat, get rid of their exhaustion, their sluggishness. So remember that you have a solution, but if you are not open for service, then no one's going to know about it. So you need to make sure that people know where to go when they're feeling that way. So if you're not on social media, then it's going to have to be phone calls or in person, and sharing and loving people and sharing just having things around so that people can ask you questions. But planting those seeds now, because January is coming. Matt and Amanda started in January. I started in March. Jen started in March. Julie got her box in April. So just plant those seeds now, because it's the time where the harvest is going to be very ripe. So thank you guys. And New Year's kickoff, get your ticket. You heard it here, that events build your business. So go to an event, get your spouse to an event, and bring new people to the events, because it helps build their belief and does the work for you. So get your tickets, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining us. Bye.